Hey everybody, my name is Andrew. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Shattuck. I'm the SU president for the 2025-2026 season.
And my name is Ellie, and I'm the Student Union Volunteer Coordinator.
And today we have a special video for you guys. We're going to be reviewing the second round of rep forms that we got in the end of February and seeing any actions and positive things that we got from that.
We are going to go through our master document of all of our feedback from the second round of forums, which either you can find on the website or on the screen here, if Andrew has edited it, which I know he will. So this has been organised alphabetically for the names of the staff members that we sent the feedback to. So we're going to start at the beginning of the alphabet with A, and to begin with, that is for the animal collection. So we had some feedback about the animal management software being quite difficult to navigate and to use, and that students didn't feel like they had been taught how to use it very well, as well as some concerns with the black containers that students are asked to put their belongings in not being waterproof. And then finally some concerns about the enclosures in the orchard not being optimal for animal welfare, particularly when they've been doing assessments on the animal behaviour, and students were thinking that they weren't always behaving normally. We sent this over to the animal collection, and they have asked if students were able to provide any more specific information. Are there specific enclosures or specific species that they were noticing that these issues with, because they felt that the feedback was quite broad and it's quite hard to action. But they are more than happy, and they actually encourage any feedback directly to the animal collection or the manager or to us as an SU if you don't feel comfortable talking to the animal care staff directly, because this is really, really important for them and for the animals. So they'd love to hear about this sooner rather than later. With our next steps, we will catch up with the animal collection team if any of you come forward with a bit more information. And they didn't specifically comment about the animal management software or the black containers, so we'll chase them up on those bits as well.
Now we're going to move on to the next piece of feedback, which is essentially space on campus. And in the FE form, we asked a question, which essentially went like this. Does your cohort think there is sufficient space on campus for studying and socialization? And the general answer was no. They thought that they would like some more space of socialization. For example, they don't think that Gray's, the Lob Cabin, and Heroes is enough, as it can get really crowded during peak times around lunchtime, and then we'll dip down afterwards when college students go home and the residential students are still on campus. We passed that on to senior management team, so Claire, Mick, and Leslie, and they said that's really useful feedback. They'll pass that on to their master plan and have a look at that in the future. They also said they'd be really keen to know how the use of Grays would be impacted after the opening of the ULH. So if you have any feedback or want to get back to us with an email, in person, or a comment on this video if you want to, we'll be able to relay that back to them and see some more information in the future.
So the next theme of feedback that we have, kind of moving on from college, study and social space, is to the University Learning Hub. So we asked university reps how their cohort was feeling about the new ULH, because obviously back in February it was pretty brand new actually, to be fair. And we had loads of feedback back about this, and it was very mixed but largely very positive. Students are very, very, very grateful for the space, and they were very understanding that there might be a few teething issues at the beginning, but largely very positive. And one thing students had a lot to say about were the pods. So students were saying that they really appreciated this private study space, but there were a couple of little, as I said, teething issues. One of those things being kind of around the booking system for the pods. So we passed this on to Emma Stevens, who is in charge of the building, and she essentially said that they're aware of these limitations and they are trying to make any minor improvements that they can kind of within the scope of the booking system that they use, because they're using a free system and they want to kind of reduce the paid investment into using a paid service. So they're looking at trying to increase the amount of time that you can book one of the pods for, so students aren't having to make repetitions of bookings. They are also hoping that the whole scanning the QR code to make a booking will become more natural to students, and she wanted to highlight that while there was some feedback in there about students feeling awkward about going up to a pod and scanning whilst people are in there, so it kind of looks like you're filming the person inside, but Emma was saying that all of the QR codes are the same, so you don't have to scan the one on each particular door. They will all work the same. And also you can find the link and the QR code for the bookings on the library Moodle page, so you don't actually have to physically be there in person to make a booking. So hopefully that will make students feel a little bit more comfortable. There were some comments about the amount of space in each of the pods, and Emma just wanted to remind students that the pods are designed for up to 2 or 3 people, because there were some comments about, you know, trying to fit 5 people in the pods. So yeah, just trying to be sensible with the amount of people that you're trying to fit in there. We also had some comments about the lifts in the ULH not being operational, and we completely understand where students were coming from with this. They actually did consult with us as an SU before the opening of the ULH as to the impact this would have on students. So Hartpury were very understanding, and I think themselves very disappointed that they couldn't open the ULH with a functioning lift from the get-go. And back when Emma sent this feedback to us, she said that they were kind of working with the contractors, and she didn't at the time quite have a timeline for when it would be working again. But we're really happy to announce that as we're filming this video in mid-April, that it is now operational. So we are very sorry to students who felt like there was any barrier to accessing the ULH during the time when the lifts were down, but we're really happy to say that that is now open. We also had some feedback about access to plug sockets within the classrooms in the ULH, and Emma has told us that they have added some more plug sockets into the classrooms in the last few weeks, and she would have sent this in March, so sometime within March hopefully there were some more plug sockets added. She has alternatively had some feedback that students actually think that there is enough plug sockets in there, so maybe it will be different students just having different expectations, and hopefully over time this might settle. But yeah, unfortunately that is kind of the limitation of the design of the room. There isn't any more space to wire in any more plug sockets. Staff members always advised that students charge their devices before they come to a taught session. We also had some more feedback about the automated taps within the ULH running very hot, so there was no kind of individual control over whether you got cold water or hot water that came through the taps. This was an issue for this particular student because they were prone to nosebleeds and to fainting and to overheating in general, so they needed quick access to cold water. And Emma has told us that the water temperatures are being adjusted, and hopefully the running of cold water won't be an issue in the future. Similarly, another student reported that there's an imbalance between the number of sinks and the number of hand dryers, with there being a lot more sinks than hand dryers, and they were worried about in the future, if it was very busy, whether this would cause queues. And Emma has told us that it's not unusual to have more taps and hand dryers, as they are kind of a very new form of hand dryer and therefore much more efficient, and it's also the best option in terms of being more environmentally friendly. Some other students had some questions about what the rules were on the noise levels within the ULH, and Emma has told us that there is no limit on talking in the library, but they try to maintain a quieter area for study as this is what students have requested, and they also monitor the other spaces within the building to ensure that this doesn't have a detrimental impact on that quieter area. And then finally, we had a postgraduate rep report to us that they weren't too sure how much postgraduate students were using the ULH. And if they weren't 100% too sure how they felt about it. But even though we are not quite sure whether postgraduate students are loving it or not using it, Emma has let us know that there's going to be a new research area within the Neil Kerwin building in the future once it is refurbished. So rest assured there will be a postgrad only space coming in the future.
So moving on, we have another big hitter, which is cost of living. And this is specifically FE or college equivalent feedback. And again, problems are similar to the last couple of years. The cost of living crisis is still a problem. It's not going away, and students feel that. And we sympathize with them completely. So we sent that on to Claire, Mick, and Leslie, so again, senior management, and they really do appreciate this feedback, and they find it really useful. One thing that the student union have been doing for HE students, so university students, is that we've implemented a dry food or provision in the loft, which has seen some success. And we were thinking of maybe implementing this if we get enough feedback and obviously funding and planning put in place to do the same for college students, as we feel like no matter how much money you have in your bank account, where you are on campus, everybody deserves to have a full belly. So that's another thing that we're planning on doing.
So from a university perspective, again on the theme of cost of living, it was a very similar story to FE. Students are still struggling, particularly when it comes to funding kind of the bare essentials that everybody needs to survive, especially as a student if you're on kind of a minimum maintenance loan or if you're struggling to get employment or something like that. So yeah, not different at all really to previous forums or years. So one thing that students were saying is that they felt like any financial help or kind of initiatives that the SU were doing, such as our loft provision, needs to be more widely communicated and advertised, particularly with in-person advertisement, because sometimes students get a lot of emails and they often go unread. This is actually something that the student finance team are aiming to do. So they want to do weekly financial support drop-ins in the ULH, which I don't know if they're set up yet, but they said to watch this space because it's definitely a plan for the future. So whether that's now, after Easter, or potentially for the new academic year, that is something that they are striving to do.
We pass a lot of this feedback to the cost of living group, which has members from the student union, the finance team, and some others, so they can get their ideas together and try to create some sort of an action plan to go and combat these problems. And one of the biggest things that we are trying to do is provide you with that information. Provide you with what you can do with your finances, what should your finances look like, what support's available, and we've done that through multiple different ways, including videos, information on our website, and we just really want to get that out to you because budgeting isn't something that people who are in need to do. It's a skill that everybody should learn, as it does help limit some of these issues. So if you do go onto our social media, go onto our website under Cost of Living Hub, you'll be able to provide yourself with some resources and get some really good information.
We had some mixed feedback from students when it came to accessing bursaries, where some students had been successful and they thought that the student finance team and the bursaries themselves were very, very helpful, whereas others had reached out and they were told that there wasn't any way that that student was going to be able to be supported financially by Hartpury. And the student finance team told us that for fairness across all students, all of the applications are means tested. So if a student meets eligibility criteria, then they can access financial support. However, based on this feedback, they are now going to review the eligibility criteria with the aim of providing more students with access to funds in the future.
Now, we're very fortunate at Hartpury to have a finance team, and they're really good and they're here to help you out. But the finance team has said that if you have any queries or you don't seem to be getting a response from them, that you can contact the HSU or your personal tutor and they'll fast track that process for you.
We also had some feedback from a postgraduate student who had kind of raised some concerns about timetabling. So for one of their modules, they had a whole day of Friday lectures from 10 a.m. all the way through to 6 p.m, which meant that they couldn't take on any morning, afternoon or evening shifts for that day. So essentially the timetabling was having a big impact on their income. And Student Finance has let us know that similar feedback in the past has led to timetables being reduced and condensed as much as possible to enable specific days for students to work or for students to study. But they appreciate that this isn't going to be a kind of one-fits-all kind of solution. And unfortunately, it isn't going to work for everybody, but they've done all that they can to kind of try and not have too many kind of lectures spread out over different days and tried to keep them all as one. We also had some students asking whether Hartpury could open up some more internal jobs kind of on campus, specifically for residential students who might not have the means to commute off campus. And we are actually working closely with the Human Resources or HR here at Hartpury to help promote internal roles at the start of next academic year. So if you are back here in September, do keep your eyes open for any promotion that we might push in terms of internal roles.
We strongly encourage students to contact the student finance team at studentfinance@hartpury.ac.uk on the screen here, on the little square thing I put somewhere around the screen for any financial help, support, or what support you have available to you.
Why is it over there?
Because I feel like we should change it up. We're now going to move on to everybody's favorite topic, transport. And it's not all doom and gloom. In fact, we've met up with Francesca and Sophia, which is our contact with Zillow, and there has been some positive, at least, looks into the future that we will about to inform you guys. Zillow as a company is going into chapter 3, and with that, they're making some changes with their infrastructure, which is really good for Hartpury because they're able to allocate more manpower to monitor our service. And they want to make their app more front-facing, but they don't think they'll be able to fully release that into September 2027. Now, there's been some complaints about how people don't receive feedback or how they have to communicate with the Zillow app or members of staff within them. And sometimes they feel like they're getting responses either through AI chatbots or they don't get responses at all. And they now have a more personal customer care team, which if you send an email to this email I put you on screen. They respond within 24 hours and a real person would get back to you. They've now introduced a tier system. The numbers go from 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each number that goes up is escalating the severity of the problem that's been reported. For example, a number 3, which is quite severe but not quite a 4, is like a severe delay, and a number 4 would be like a safeguarding issue or a behavioral issue, which they would respond to right away. Each morning they have a call and they discuss the problems that they want to get back to and solve as quick as they can, as it is a day-to-day basis approach. They said that this will make the contacting with Zelo and the communication with students a lot smoother. So we're interested to see what you guys think about this new approach and see if you did have any feedback that you allocated, how fast they got back to you, and how much smoother is it actually. The transport team is looking to create a transport hub with the new transport manager that we're hiring, which hopefully provide a comprehensive place where students can receive information about any changes in timetables, and if there is a flood, what is going to happen when roads are shut, and what you should do if you do get public transport. And a new transport manager, which is being hired by Hartpury, will take this on over the summer. Another positive thing that we really want to talk about is the fact that we've been invited to discussions during the summer to discuss timetables, the pricing of next year's tickets and services, something that we've never been invited to previously, and we're looking forward to be able to advocate and hopefully start a really good communication with not just transport but Zelo as well, so that you guys can have a direct voice in those major key decisions that we previously didn't have in the future.
Moving on from transport, we had quite a specific piece of feedback from a third-year equestrian coaching student who was raising concerns over a clash between a lecture and also a pony club coaching session, and students were finding it very frustrating that they had to kind of decide between attending a lecture, which would have kind of consequences with assessments and kind of overall teaching on their degree, or taking part in coaching, which is something they were very passionate about, and they were also acting as mentors for the first and second years. We passed this on to the module leader, and they are aware of the situation, but they have told us that unfortunately they're not going to be able to change this for the rest of this academic year. However, really fortunately, they have already got a plan in place for next academic year to ensure that there isn't a clash and that students will be able to attend the lectures and the coaching sessions outside of each other. Back on the topic of flooding, we had some suggestions from students about kind of more access to online or remote learning whilst the floods are happening and it is more difficult to get on campus for lectures. We have passed this on to the head of teaching and learning here at Hartpury, and she has let us know that she has taken this to the team for wider discussion. So we'll see whether this is something that can happen in the future with any potential floodings, but there are a lot of complexities around this in terms of remote learning, so we will keep you updated if anything does happen. Whilst there wasn't a huge amount of feedback about this in the forum, we also had some information from the head of teaching and learning about the assessment period 2 timetables. In the past, we've had feedback that students would like these timetables a bit earlier because it would help them organise things such as trips home if they're an international student, access to things like work and just general planning things in their personal life. And Kate has let us know that this academic year was actually the earliest that they've ever got the assessment period 2 timetable out. So she was really proud about this because this is something that she and students have been pushing for a couple of years. So hopefully that is really well appreciated.
Just before we go into this feedback, Liam is our primary contact for Airmark, and I'll add his LinkedIn details here so you can see his beautiful posts. Now, just like any other forum, we ask the question, how is catering? Specifically, how have your cohort been finding the campus catering services? And again, like always, pricing, portions, and service always comes up, and it always will, most likely. But we're actually going to dive in a little bit more detail to some of these points, specifically where the feedback or complaints have come from and what has been made or actioned based off that feedback. So we're going to firstly go into that there is an increased number of staff, which hopefully will provide more consistent in-meal timings and quality in the evenings. So one of the complaints was that breakfast or lunch was really good, but then during the evening, the quality and also the pricing would vary and go down. Liam has come back to us and said that he's really trying to provide better service for you guys in the evenings, so it's not just a really good breakfast, lunch, and a bad dinner, that everything is even.
We also had some feedback from students regarding kind of the variety of options on the menu, specifically saying that some meals were quite repetitive, like chicken on the bone. Liam has got back to us and let us know that they now have a new head chef who is creating a new menu cycle, more so tailored towards 16 to 18-year-olds, specifically athletes. There have been the introduction of some home comforts which were really sought after by students, such as sausage and mash. Back on the note of chicken on the bone, Liam has assured us that this will only be on the rotation once every 3 weeks now instead of twice a week.
Meal prices is always going to be a concern, but Liam has said that they're benchmarking their prices against other education providers so it doesn't fluctuate too bad. Again, they do have to make a margin of gain off everything they sell, and he's really honest about that, and he tells us that he needs to make a profit, but he doesn't want to do that at the expense of the product quality and student happiness. So with the addition of this new chef and staff members, he's really trying to see where he can cut some corners and provide you with a better service while also benchmarking it to other service providers.
Similarly to previous forums, we had a few concerns regarding the labelling of allergens within the catering services. Liam has let us know that it would be very difficult to list all of the allergens on the menu directly due to it being very overcrowded and overwhelming, but the salad bar, bakery and cafes should now all have allergen labels on the food items or next to the food items going forward. However, they can't promise gluten-free or nut-free food as all of the kitchens work with these ingredients. If students have allergies, they should speak to the chefs or the serving staff directly to ensure that they are receiving safe food.
So we received some feedback from students saying that their food wasn't fully cooked in the middle and that there wasn't a wide range of cooked food. There's various reasons for that. The first thing that they told us is that an oven wasn't fully operational, so therefore they weren't able to cook things fully in the way they wanted to. So that produced some unevenly cooked food, which has now been solved since then. And due to the restrictions given to them by Hartpury, they aren't able to cook anything that smells strongly or provides a high level of grease into the air because of the building regulations. They do have bakery items. They have sometimes they have pizza, and they do vary with some heated food, but they aren't able to go above and beyond because of the limitations that were given to them by Hartpury.
We had a little bit of feedback again, similar to previous forums, regarding portion sizes, specifically the inconsistency in portion sizes, and Liam has let us know that they have now introduced a piece of equipment called a spoodle, which is used to standardise portions of different meals. The chef has now started to have team briefings at the beginning of each shift, which shows all of the staff how to use the spoodle and also the expected portion size for that meal.
Students have also previously said that they would buy a meal in the morning and then buy it the next morning, and some of the prices were being consistent, and some of the meal deals also, the staff aren't fully aware what is going into it or what is allowed into that specific pricing option. Now Liam has told us that he's trying to make it as simple as possible. They want to click one button for that, one button for that, one button for something else, to make pricing really easy, not just for the student that's coming over with meal deal, but also for them on the till side, so they don't have to click multiple buttons. Currently there's one button on the till for each meal. For example, 5 items plus drink is your breakfast. But students are still noticing inconsistent pricing, and hopefully with further communication that continues to ease out over time.
On the topic of promotion, we heard that some students weren't aware of what all of the meal deal options are, and as a result, Aramark are trying really hard to work on their promotion. You'll see that there are some signs and screens up in Grays about the meal deal options. However, they are working really hard on getting a social media account approved, because as we know, especially in the SU, most of our successful advertisement is through social media. This is still in the planning stages at the moment, but they're hoping to have this up and running maybe over the summer. I think they're going to start uploading stuff over the summer and then going full force in September. They are also going to work on getting some more screens up in the equine feed room for promotion, and they really do recommend that all students download the Social Kitchen app for all of their menus and meal deals and all the information you would ever need to know about catering at Hartpury.
Through the second round of forums, we also heard that some students were disappointed about the lack of gluten-free options in the ULH. And again, Liam has told us that Due to the lack of equipment that you can use to create these foods, he recommends people who do have these intolerances to go to Graze, as they'll find a larger array of food that they are able to eat.
We had some feedback about the lack of healthier options, specifically in terms of salads. And Liam has let us know that at the salad bar in Grace, there is a chicken salad option. So basically, you can get a salad pot and a protein, but this is only available at lunchtime at the moment. He is going to be pushing for this also to be open at dinner time, but no promises right now. That is kind of one of his goals. And he's also agreed to investigate some more salad grab-and-go options in the ULH, so it's not all just at Graze.
Students have said that if you did download the Social Kitchen app, that the menu cycles, the 3-week menu cycles, are a bit difficult to understand what week you're in, as it doesn't specifically have dates. But from the 20th of April, which is really soon, in fact, by the time you're watching this video, it may be out, there will be dates on the menu cycles on the app, so it should be a lot easier to understand.
We also had quite a bit of feedback from our agriculture students who used the ag van up at the farm. There were some complaints about long queues and a few concerns about kind of the options that were served in the van. And Liam has let us know that there has actually been a change in the staff members in the ag van who are very, very proactive, and they're already taking on loads of student feedback and have some really great plans for the future. One of those plans is to have simple, quick food options that are the same every Monday or every Tuesday, every Wednesday, so it becomes predictable and kind of easy to follow. So hopefully that'll be a good addition and appreciated by our agriculture students.
Some concerns for residential students regarding well-being is the fact that after 8:30 p.m. the drop-in sessions finish, which means that if you have a concern or are struggling, you may not have somebody until the next day. But Wellbeing and Olivia said to us that there is the Student Assistance Program video that you can find actually on our social media, which details a 24-hour service, which is completely free, and you talk to a real person that has actual experience and not just an AI chatbot. So you can get in contact with them 24 hours a day when the drop-in service is offline. What? Offline? What am I talking about?
I guess that is a saying.
Offline?
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, that is.
We're going to say offline.
You can say offline.
We're going to say offline. And all the other well-being feedback that we received has been communicated with Olivia, and she has passed it on to her team.
And then finally, to finish off, we understandably had a few concerns from students regarding the lifts on campus, which are not in full working order at the moment, specifically those being the equine lift and the animal management building lift. We have passed this feedback on to Rosie Scott Ward, who has then forwarded it on to our facilities team to highlight the frustration from students and to ensure that this is at the top of the priority list for our facilities team. As a direct quote, we then heard back, "The facilities team are having the situation assessed at the moment, and it sounds like there are two options. Number one, a full overhaul, or number two, a complete replacement. They are waiting on quotes on both options to understand which would be the quickest and the most feasible. To date, nothing has indicated there is a quick solution, and so Hartpury is not predicting a solution this academic year." And then following discussions with the students, the priority of lifts has been agreed to be the ULH, which we now know has been rectified, animal management, sports academy, and then equine. Equine was last due to the issues with the slope to the bottom of the arena, and therefore in general issues with accessibility to the building as a whole. It is advised that if there are any students with access requirements to classrooms that require a lift, that they let their tutor or module leader know as soon as possible so that the room can be moved. From a Students' Union perspective, we completely appreciate that this is a really, really frustrating issue to be constantly combating year after year at Hartpury, and we completely sympathise with students who are not being able to access all corners of the campus as able-bodied students are able to. We also understand that Hartpury find this very frustrating as well. I think they also wish that they could solve this instantly, but unfortunately funding does not allow for that at the moment, especially as some of the lifts will need to be completely replaced rather than simply just fixed or maintained. If we do hear any updates in regards to the replacement or fixing of any of the lifts, we will be sure to give you an update as soon as we know.
There was also a lot of positive stuff that you guys passed through the second round of rep forms that we did send to the allocated staff or members of Hartpury team, and they really, really appreciate it, so thank you so much. If you guys did want a comprehensive overview, you can find it on the SU website. I'll let Ellie explain where you can do that.
Yes, so on the Rep Hub on the SU website, in the same place that you probably found this long form video, there will also be a link to this whole document, which will have all of the feedback and all of the outcomes listed in it, so you can read through it in your own time. Similarly, Andrew will also have a short form video going out on our social media, which may or may not already have been released. We are not fortune tellers, we are not sure what has happened. But yeah, if you wanted to see a quick snappy version of all of our feedback and outcomes from this round, please go find it on our Instagram.
Besides from that, thank you so much for staying tuned, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thank you.
Adios.